All right, let's go ahead and talk about example 3. We're going to be dealing with travel applications. So to talk about that, let's talk about the average rate of speed. The average rate of speed is, we'll use an R, that means equals, the ratio of, the ratio means we're going to be dealing with a fraction of the distance traveled to, that means that word to means we're going to go to the bottom of the fraction, time. Okay? So an easy way to write this is average rate of speed is R, distance is D, time is T, so we can have R equals D over T, like that. Or another version of this same formula is distance equals rate times time. Distance equals rate times time, distance equals rate times time, distance equals rate times time. Now how do we get that? Well, we got D is by itself. So right now, if we isolate D and get it by itself, we would, it's divided by T. We multiply both sides by T and see what happens. We end up with, those T's cancel, and we end up with distance equals rate times time, which is this formula right there. So there's those two variations of this formula. So the average rate of speed is R equals D over T. Okay, so that's the variation we're going to be using, but also we have this distance equals rate times time. They mean the same thing. They're just two different versions. So let's start here. It says a driver is competing in a 500-mile auto race. So that is a distance, right? In the first 2 hours, okay, so that's time. First 2 hours, that's the time of the race. The driver travels 356 miles. Okay, so that's the distance. This is the total amount of the race, but this is how far they went, 356 miles. That's our distance. What is the driver's average speed? So we're trying to find that, R. So if I write down this formula here, R equals D over T, the distance equals 356, and time is equal to 2 hours. We substitute it in, 356 over 2. And we need this to be a 1, right? So we're going to divide this by 2, divide this by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 356 divided by 2, I don't know. 2 goes into 3 one time. 3 take away 2 is 1. Drop that down. 2 goes into 15 7 times. 7 times 2 is 14. 15 take away 14 is 1. Drop down the 6. 2 goes into 16 8 times. So that means, what is the driver's average speed? Wow, the driver's going really fast. Would be 178 miles per hour. Wow, that's fast. A driver's competing in a 500-mile auto race. The first 2 hours of the race, the driver travels 356 miles. What is the driver's average speed? The driver is flying. Man, that has to be super fast. Okay, so let's look at the second part. It says the driver estimates that he will finish the race in less than 3 hours. If the driver keeps traveling at the same average speed, is his estimate reasonable? Okay, so the driver estimates that he will finish the race in less than 3 hours. If the driver keeps traveling at the same average speed, he will finish the race in less than 3 hours. Okay, so he will finish the race, and so the entire race in less than 3 hours. Okay, so we're going to use this distance equals rate times time, I think. Yeah, so we'll use this other variation, distance equals rate times time. The distance is going to be the entire 500, and the rate is going to be the same. And what we want to see is we want to see what the time is. Is it going to be less than 3? if they're going the same speed. So we plug in 500 here. The rate is 178, and we're trying to figure out what the time is, and we want to see if that time is going to be less than 3 hours. So to get t by itself, we have to divide both sides by 178. When we do that, I'm just going to go ahead and use my calculator for this one. 500 divided by 178 equals 2.8. So approximately 2.8 hours. So is this estimate reasonable? Yes. The driver will finish in about 2.8 hours, which is less than 3. Okay, and that is our answer. Perfect. Okay, so for this next one, B, I want you to try answering both of these questions. There's kind of two parts. This is part 1, and then this is part 2. Okay, so here is my friend, the pause dragon. Where are you, pause dragon? Here's the pause dragon. Remind you to pause your device. Go ahead and work out both of those parts for B, and when you get done, press play, and we'll talk about it. All right, see you in a bit. Okay, let's see how you did. It says a tour bus is traveling 520 miles from Charlotte, North Carolina to Atlanta, Florida. In the first 4 hours of the trip, okay, so that is our time, right? The bus travels 208 miles, so that is our distance. What is the bus's average speed? Okay, so let's use our formula here. So the average speed is found by taking the distance over the time. Okay, we know that the distance equals 208, and the time is equal to 4. So we substitute in those values. Okay, then we just need to do that division. I'm going to go over here. 208 divided by 4. 4 does not go into 2, but it goes into 25 times. 5 times 4 is 20. We substitute it down. 4 goes into 8 2 times. 2 times 8. So it's 52. So it equals 52 miles per hour. That's the bus's speed. 52 miles per hour. Okay, so if you got that part 1, great job. Let's go ahead and look at part 2. It says the driver estimates that the entire trip will take 8 hours. If the bus keeps traveling at the same average speed, is the driver's estimate reasonable? Okay, so let's go ahead and use that other formula, right? Distance equals rate times time. It's the same thing, just a different variation of it. So the distance for the entire trip is 520, and the rate is going the same rate, which would be 52. And this needs to say R equals 52. R equals 52. Okay. So we substitute in the values, and we get 520 equals the rate, which is 52, times t. We want to isolate and get t by itself, so we have to do the inverse operation of multiplication, which would be dividing. And this is nice. We can do this one pretty quickly. 52 divided by 52 is 1, right? And 520 divided by 52, 52 goes into 52 one time. And then we drop that down, doesn't go in there, so 10. So the answer is 10 equals t. T equals 10. So let's read the question again. It says the driver estimates that the entire trip will take 8 hours if the bus keeps traveling at the same average speed. Is the driver's estimate reasonable? No, it's not, because the trip is going to take 10 hours. The driver's estimate is not reasonable. Whoops, because the trip will take 10 hours instead of 8. Okay, and that is our answer. So if you got that one right, great job. Excellent work, and I will see you in a little bit for example 4.